Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are brand new here, my name is Kylie. I'm so happy to have you. My channel is all about being a young person living with narcolepsy, but we don't just focus on the sleep disorder here. If you are interested in more information about narcolepsy, you can head on over to my Narcolepsy 101 video where I break it down for you. Today's video is episode 4 of the Your Narcolepsy Stories series that I've started, which is my way of raising awareness about narcolepsy since 75% of people who have it are not diagnosed, which means they're out here not living the best quality of life that they could possibly live because they don't know that they have it. What I do is read stories that were either sent to me or that I found on Reddit from people who have experiences with narcolepsy, and I read them for the first time on camera here with you in order to capture my genuine response and reaction to these stories. Today's story is another advice request that I found on Reddit. So I'm going to read to you what they are asking advice about, and then I will respond with the advice I would give them. I'd love to hear what advice you would give them if they were to ask you for advice on this subject. So if you want to comment below and let me know what you would tell them, I'd love to hear it. And lastly, before we get started, if you would go ahead and subscribe to my channel and like this video. Both of those things help to support me in helping raise awareness about narcolepsy, and I would greatly appreciate it. With all that intro stuff out of the way, let's get into today's advice request. Today's advice request is titled, "Friend Telling Everyone She Has Narcolepsy and She's Never Been Tested." I would just like some input from this community to see how they would feel in my situation. Please call me out if my feelings are harsh or unjustified. I will state that I haven't said anything to this friend about what she's been saying other than that she should get a sleep study and a nap test done. So, I have a friend who recently told me she is positive she has narcolepsy. I understand that this illness comes in many different forms for people, affecting them differently. But as someone who has been living with narcolepsy for just over 8 years, it never occurred to me that she might have it. She told me that she told her therapist that she has a really hard time waking up and always feels sleepy, and her therapist mentioned narcolepsy and that she should get tested. When my friend brought this up to me, I told her the same thing, that she should get tested because for me, getting a diagnosis was a relief in itself. Since then, she has been telling people that she has narcolepsy and continues to make jokes about being sleepy all the time and mentioning narcolepsy and how we both have it. This is where I'm unsure of my feelings and if they are justified, but personally I don't like that she's doing this. It took me 2 years of hell to get diagnosed, and since then, managing symptoms of cataplexy, sleep paralysis, EDS is excessive daytime sleepiness. You can check out my symptoms video if you want more info on specific symptoms. And hallucinations have been rough, and it feels to me that she just thinks narcolepsy is being sleepy all the time, without fully understanding the illness and problems it can cause living day to day. I feel she is demeaning the illness and my own experience, which I have brought up to her, but she continues to tell people that she has narcolepsy. Now, I am not a person who ever wants to disregard a person's symptoms or experience they have relating to an illness. My sister has lupus, and I can't imagine if someone had a symptom of lupus and then went around telling everyone they had lupus, just how dismissive it would feel to people who do live with it, like my sister. And yes, I know there are conditions that are pretty self-diagnosable, but it seems to be that this friend doesn't even understand the full scope of narcolepsy. If she truly has narcolepsy, then she would try to get tested. But her continual disregard for what the illness actually is, and her telling everyone that she has narcolepsy, feels like an attention grab. I'm going to pause and say I'm definitely getting that vibe from her as well, but let's continue. It may not be causing any harm, but she also has spread misinformation about the illness, talking about it, and I myself feel almost silenced when trying to speak about my own experience. As in, she won't fully listen to what I have to say, nor take the time to understand narcolepsy. I just feel my struggle with the illness is demeaned when she makes it out to be just being tired. I've been trying to decide if I should call her out the next time she brings it up, or if I just let her continue doing what she's doing. She hasn't taken any steps to get a sleep study or even learn about the illness. But I don't want to be a person who demeans her experience, because what if she goes and gets tested and does have narcolepsy? But every time I hear her talking about it, or when she groups me in with her, I get extremely frustrated and I don't know how much more I can deal with it. Any thoughts on what I should say or do? Am I overreacting? Thanks so much. I could 120% see how this is frustrating. As somebody with narcolepsy, I cannot tell you how many times that I have mentioned that I had narcolepsy and someone automatically goes, I think I have that too because I'm sleepy, or I have trouble sleeping. It is not just having trouble sleeping. You are comparing an apple to an orange here. They are not the same thing. Now, I totally agree with this girl as far as she doesn't want to disregard her friend's experience, because we're not in that person's shoes, and maybe she is experiencing more. Maybe she is just not articulating what she's feeling clearly. Maybe she's not telling us all the symptoms she's experiencing. Who knows? But as somebody that's, like she said, gone through hell and back before getting diagnosed with narcolepsy and has since dealt with all the symptoms that can accompany it, or at least a majority of the symptoms, and for someone to just be like, oh yeah, I have narcolepsy too. Yeah, we both have narcolepsy. I could see how that's frustrating, because it's almost like, in a weird way, I want to say it's not like a badge of honor you're holding, because nobody wants narcolepsy, trust me. But it's like, you went through the hell and back. You went and did your sleep study. You got an actual diagnosis. You actually have paperwork showing results that you have narcolepsy, and you've probably taken the time, and you have learned probably so much about narcolepsy in the 8 years since you've had it. I can relate to that. I'm in the exact same boat. I have learned so much by doing research, talking to others, going through my own experience, etc. And you feel like you have this little bit of wealth of knowledge on this one topic. You're not a know-it-all. You don't know everything about every illness, of course not. But if there's one thing you know about, it's narcolepsy. And it's something you care about, and it's something you're passionate about, because you have to deal with it on a daily basis. So yes, that would be frustrating for someone to just swoop in and be like, oh yeah, we both have narcolepsy, like it's cute or something, like making jokes. And like, making jokes is a thing in and of itself. I think once you've had narcolepsy for a certain amount of time, it doesn't really hurt your feelings, but it's also like not impressive in a way. It's like, wow, good job making your narcolepsy joke. I never thought of that one, or never heard that one. So you just kind of let them roll off your back. Your first question was, any thoughts on what I should say or do? And your second question was, or am I overreacting? I am going to answer them in the opposite order. Are you overreacting? No, you're not overreacting, because you haven't said anything to her yet. You didn't just blow up in her face and be like, what are you talking about? You don't have narcolepsy. You didn't belittle her experience. You didn't make her feel bad. You didn't call her out in front of everyone when you've had many opportunities, as it seems from your story. So no, I don't think you're overreacting. This is just something that's been boiling up inside of you over a period of time. And now you're taking it to Reddit to ask other people in the narcoleptic community for what they would do. So no, I don't think you're overreacting. I think it's very patient of you and mature of you to take the time to kind of like ask around before you just blurt out these words and maybe ruin your friendship over something like this. Now, any ideas on what you should say or do? Let me think about it for a second. My answer to that question is this. I think what you should do is going to be based on what type of friend she is to you. If she's just a friend that you sometimes see at school, or a friend that you see every long once in a while, I would say don't bother. Honestly, let it go in one ear and out the other. It's her journey she's on. You can't control what other people are going to say and do with their lives. And I agree with you that even though narcolepsy is so different from one person to another, it can be some symptoms can be very severe and very mild in others. Some people can have all the symptoms, some people can have none of the symptoms. I know there's a type 1 and a type 2 of narcolepsy, so it doesn't look like a replica for every person. So with that being said, I agree with you, you don't want to belittle her experience. So if she's someone that isn't like a best friend, like someone near and dear to you, just let it go. Say she's just a friend of a friend who sometimes meets up when you go out for lunch. And say you and the girls are out to lunch, she's there, and you decide, I'm gonna say something to her. And you let it out, and maybe your emotions get the best of you because, again, obviously this is something you really care about because it's near and dear to your heart, and you bring it up. You don't want to risk you looking like the crazy person who just blew up on this girl and risk everyone looking at you differently. Do you know what I mean? So I would suggest, if she's not a close friend of yours, just let it go. Now, if she is a close friend of yours or someone very near and dear to you, then I think you have two options. First option is, again, let it roll off your back. Why? Because if you really care about this person, then you probably want to keep that relationship. And yes, it's frustrating to you, and I get it. That's almost the good thing about having a narcoleptic community out there, is that you can vent to people like us, and we get it. But not everyone's going to get it, and we sometimes just have to realize that it's not for everyone to take the time to understand, and not everyone is capable or mature enough to stop and try to learn to understand. So if you can, I say let it roll off your back and don't say anything to her. But if you're getting to the point where it's literally about to boil over and you are just like, I can't not say anything, it's driving you that crazy and it's someone very close to you, think about what you want to say before you do it. I wouldn't even go in public. I would do it like at your house. I would say try and make it more about her than you. Instead of wording it like, since you've been saying you had narcolepsy when I don't think you do, instead maybe word it like, I've noticed that ever since you and your psychiatrist have speculated that you might have narcolepsy, that you haven't yet gone to get tested. I know you mentioned that you're having a lot of trouble sleeping, that it's really hard for you to wake up, and in an effort for you to feel the best and for you to have the best quality of your life, I really think it would be important for you to go get tested. I know I've mentioned it before and you just haven't got around to doing it yet. Instead of saying, I know you haven't gone because you probably don't have it, but instead saying, I know you haven't got around to going to get tested yet, but I think that instead of telling everyone that you do have it, that maybe you should go get tested first because maybe you do have it and maybe you have a different sleep disorder or something else is the problem. Also, I've noticed that there are times when we're talking about narcolepsy and some of the things that you've told people aren't quite accurate about the sleep disorder. And as someone that has had it for so long, I think that it does a disservice to those people who are learning about it because they're getting false information. Something along those lines, just be honest and open. If it's really someone close to you, speak from the heart, they should hear you. If it's someone that's not that close to you, I don't know if I'd even give it the time of day. Just let it go in one ear and out the other. And if they're spreading false information, that's not good. I don't like that either. But then again, people in movies depict narcolepsy as something that it's not. So more people than not know narcolepsy as something that it's not. You could even say that it kind of hurts your feelings. It kind of worries you because you know that personally, if you would have had the correct information sooner, that you would have gotten diagnosed quicker. And when people spread false information, it's easy to prolong that process. Something like that. Obviously, she's going to react however she feels necessary. You should go into it hoping for the best, but definitely preparing for the worst. Because she could easily just reject everything you're saying. And people like that you can't reason with, and you shouldn't worry yourself pushing any further. But on the other hand, she might be like, I never thought about that. How it could hurt your feelings, how it could be a bad thing. She might not even realize that she's giving false information and that it's bothering you. But if she cares about you, she will probably stop and say, hey, let me do something differently, or let me actually go get tested. Maybe even suggest going with her when she goes to get tested as a support system, and do it as a friend thing. Try to add some positive spin to it. That would be my suggestion. At the end of the day, you're probably going to come across more people throughout your lifetime that will say, oh yeah, I probably have that too because I have trouble sleeping some nights. There are going to be naive people out there, and you can't fix everyone, and you can't fix everything. So do what you can, do what feels right, speak from the heart if it's your best friend. If it's not someone very close to you, I say let it go. That's all for today's advice request. I'm so curious to hear what you would say to this person if they were asking you for this advice. So comment below and let me know what you would say to her. If you yourself or a loved one has narcolepsy and would like to share your experience with me, email it to me. I'd love to hear it, and I'll share it anonymously. You can send it to the email that's in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.